All right, let's talk about the single most important part of any project, the very beginning, the initiation. This is where we take a messy, vague idea and turn it into a crystal clear plan. It's how we build a real foundation for success, so let's get right into it.
You know how it goes. We've all been there, right? You're just minding your own business and then, bam, a message or an email pops up from someone important. It sounds so simple, so casual, but you and I both know that's the start of a whole new project.
Ah, the classic. Or maybe for you it's, let's launch a new service, or we should really create a new training program. There's always this little spark of excitement, but let's be honest, this is also the moment where things can go sideways fast.
Yep, because without a real formal initiation process, that simple request can turn into an absolute mess. We're talking about that dreaded scope creep where new features just keep getting tacked on. Or, those budget overruns that seem to come out of nowhere. It all leads to mismatched expectations and, way too often, a project that just fails.
But this is where we fight back. The initiation phase is how we bring order to all that chaos. And listen, this isn't about creating more paperwork or useless bureaucracy. Not at all. It's about a structured, common-sense way to turn that vague idea into a real, authorized project that everyone, and I mean everyone, is on board with.
So the absolute cornerstone of initiation is the project's charter. I want you to think of it like a birth certificate for your project. Or maybe it's constitution. It's the official document that says, yes, this project exists, and just as importantly, it gives you, the project manager, the actual authority to start using company resources to get it done.
Okay, so instead of just talking about a charter, let's look at a real one. Here's a filled-in example for a project we'll call Plant Pals. Look how clear this is. We've got a specific goal, increase revenue by 10%. We know exactly what's in scope and what's out of scope, and we know exactly what success looks like. This one single page is your antidote to chaos. It gets everybody aligned from day one.
So, how do you make one of these? Well, it breaks down into a few key steps, and I'm going to tell you, the most important one on this list, the one that will save you so many headaches, is step 2. Specifically, defining what is out of scope. Getting everyone to agree on what you are not doing is your absolute best defense against that scope creep we were talking about.
Okay, so once you know what you're doing, the next big question is, who are you doing it for and with? A stakeholder is basically anyone who's affected by your project, and figuring out who they are right at the start is so critical for managing what they expect from you.
And here's the thing, not all stakeholders are created equal. You can't treat them all the same. A power/interest grid like this is a brilliant way to prioritize your effort. See, your project sponsor, high power, high interest. You need to manage them closely. But maybe the CEO has high power but is not that interested in the day-to-day. Your job there is just to keep them satisfied. This little grid helps you focus your energy where it's actually going to make a difference.
All right, we know the what and we know the who. The next logical step is to define exactly what everyone is supposed to be doing. To get super clear on roles and responsibilities for every little task, we're going to use a fantastic tool called a RACI chart. Let's look at a quick example for our Plant Pals project. For the task, Secure Budget, you can see the project manager is R and the sponsor is A. This simple grid just wipes out any confusion. There's no more "I thought you were doing that" because it's all right here. But what do these letters actually mean?
Let's break it down quick and easy. R is for responsible. These are the people with their hands on the keyboard, the ones actually doing the work. They're the doers.
A is for accountable. This is the person who owns the task, the one whose neck is on the line. And here's the golden rule of RACI. You ready? There can only be one A per task. That's it. This gives you total clarity on ownership.
C is for consulted. These are your experts, the people you need to talk to before you make a decision. This is a two-way street. You ask for their input and they give it to you.
And finally, I is for informed. These are the people who just need to be kept in the loop. It's a one-way communication. You're just giving them a heads up on what's going on. So the project charter, the stakeholder analysis, the RACI chart, I really want you to see that these aren't just forms to fill out and forget. No way. They are your game plan. They're living, breathing communication tools that build clarity and get everyone on the same page from the absolute start.
And the payoff for doing this work up front? Oh, it's huge. You get a clear vision for the whole team. You stop scope creep dead in its tracks. You get the formal authority you need to actually lead. And you start spotting risks before they blow up into major problems. It's a total game changer.
Look, everybody feels that pressure to just jump in and start doing stuff. It is so tempting to just skip all this and get to the real work. But I'm telling you, skipping the initiation phase is probably the #1 reason projects fail. It's the mistake you'll regret the most. Please, don't make that mistake.
So, as we wrap this up, I want you to think about a project you're working on right now. What's the one simple clarifying question you could ask today to make things just a little bit better? Maybe it's, hey, just to be clear, what's officially out of scope? Or maybe it's, who is ultimately accountable for this decision? Go ask it. You'll be surprised at what a difference it can make.